Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Film Club Podcast, where every month we deep dive into a different aspect of cinema, director, actor, genre, or franchise. It doesn't matter, because it's always fun at the Film Club. I'm Dean.
I'm Becky.
And we have a bonus episode.
We do, and it's also Halloween, so happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
And we have a guest.
She's back.
I'm back.
It's like you never left.
Introduce yourself. Let the people know who you are.
It's me, Yasmin, your favorite guest.
It's true.
Back at it again.
I think this is your fourth time on the podcast now.
It is.
Yes, you're racking it up, trying to get the Iron Woman award here.
Yeah, I'm trying to make your other guests jealous.
Because I'm trying to think. She's catching up to Alex.
Oh, I don't know who you
Alex
are, Alex.
And Reggie, I think, have been on the most.
Yeah.
I'm coming for y'all.
What are we talking about on this bonus episode?
On this bonus episode, what else can we talk about? We're talking about The Nightmare Before Christmas, the 1993 classic.
Your, favorite movie ever? Top 5 favorite movie ever?
Top 10.
Oh.
I've seen many movies in my lifetime.
Yes. And this one is Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas, and I found out he had very little to do with actually making this movie.
Yes, because he was making Batman. And
was it Batman Returns?
Batman Returns.
I'm pretty sure
he was in pre-production for Ed Wood, because this is a stop-motion animation film, so it takes 3 years just to do the stop motion.
Oh, yeah, that's like a real thing. Yeah.
No, totally. That process is grueling.
So yeah, he couldn't really be there. It's directed by Henry Selick, but
he gets all the credit for it.
Because it's Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas.
He gets all the credit for this movie, and Henry Selick, who has made some really good movies. He also made James and the Giant Peach.
Coraline.
I love me some Coraline.
He's a spooky dude.
He's a spooky dude. Really good director. And he is I am so annoyed when people think that I am just Tim Burton's lackey. I did 90% of the work on this fucking movie.
And apparently most of this movie was made in San Francisco.
Yes. A lot of it was made in San Francisco. The script didn't really exist. It was basically a song list by Danny Elfman that they strung together as a plot.
That's what I was going to say. The soundtrack and the scoring was what drove the script.
Yes. It also ended up destroying Tim Burton and Danny Elfman's friendship for a while.
That's the reason why on Ed Wood the music's different. It's was it Howard?
Composer for Ed Wood, but I know it's not Danny Elfman.
Yeah.
So why did it ruin their friendship?
Oh, we gonna get into it, but first
the tea, spill it.
Oh, we're gonna spill it. But first, let's tell everyone what Nightmare Before Christmas is about. If you haven't seen the cinematic classic, because I have the back of the box here.
Wow,
it's been so long. I know
it has been.
The gist of the film is that Jack Skellington, the king of Halloween...
Is that really what's written on the back of the film? The gist of this film is...
The gist of the film... No, it actually says, ho, 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 children, the gist of this film is Jack Skellington, the king of Halloween, desires something more, and he finds it in Christmas. But his idea of Christmas joy is a little spooky and might end up ruining the holiday when he kidnaps Santa Claus and tries to take his place. And comedy ensues.
Just proves Halloween's the better holiday.
Thoughts, Yasmin?
Halloween is
probably
my favorite holiday, but Christmas.
Oh, I enjoy Christmas, but of the two.
I don't know if I could pick.
I'm a 4th of July guy, honestly.
No, you're the only 4th of July guy.
All American.
God bless.
I think it's the perfect synergy here with Christmas and Halloween, personally.
Christmas, Halloween, 4th of July, the 3 great holidays. Yeah. We all know who the winner is here.
There's no 4th of July door in the forest, Dean.
Which
I'm
is
just
some
going to say
bullshit.
that.
This un-American commie film. No 4th of July door
How
in the
dare
forest.
they?
How dare... Excuse me? How dare they?
There is a turkey.
Go sit down and eat a hot dog.
No, there's a turkey.
There is a turkey.
So there you go.
And there's an Easter egg. And there's a Valentine's Day door.
There's a lot of doors in this movie, but not a lot of fireworks. But yeah, Nightmare Before Christmas.
Is Firework by Katy Perry your favorite song?
No. God, no.
I would not think that would be Dean's favorite song.
I mean, he's just so all-American. I would assume that, Firework.
So weird. Okay, so Nightmare Before Christmas.
Do you ever feel like a plastic bag?
A Nightmare Before Christmas. I remember this movie when I was a small child, and I don't think I have seen this movie in its entirety in like 20 years.
Why am I not surprised?
Because I don't rewatch every Tim Burton movie 6 times a year. But I assume you came out of the womb with a copy of Nightmare.
I'm
with
older
you.
than this movie, thank you.
Like barely.
Me too.
Like barely.
You're the one that wasn't alive for this at all.
Like barely.
Oh my god.
Making you feel old
I
real
just
quick.
forget how young you are, Dean.
Remember simpler times?
Yes, before I was alive.
Oh
yes.
my god.
But how did you, guys get involved when did you hear about it? Do you remember your first time watching the movie? Thoughts on the movie?
I remember it. I don't think she does.
Why? Remember what?
Watching this.
Oh no, I absolutely remember. You mean the first time?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have a bunch of older siblings, so I just got introduced to a bunch of stuff through them. So like
seeing horror movies way too young, Beetlejuice way too young.
Totally, absolutely. And I watched this movie like a ton as a kid. Still do watch it. Like it's probably been like a year since I've seen it. But yeah, watching it the first time, I don't know, maybe I can't pinpoint that exactly, but it was part of my childhood for sure.
Yeah, my first time watching it was with you and some of your siblings at Grandma's house.
There you go. I used to live at my grandma's house.
You did?
Ooh.
So that's...
Becky was over hanging out.
Yeah, because I don't remember when you guys left there, so that's how long ago...
Before I turned... So I was at least younger than 6.
Fairly...
We were little ones.
Yeah.
Tiny children.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much.
I was like 9 when I watched this movie the first time, and I think I was 11 the last time I watched this movie. I'm not even joking.
How have you been dating Becky for this long?
I have a pretty
how did you get away with that?
I have a decent enough memory about this movie that I can kind of fake my way through it.
Did you rewatch it?
Doubt.
Can I ask that?
What, like rewatch it for
this podcast?
Yeah, no, I rewatched it.
Okay.
Like I did. I watch every movie we record on this podcast.
You're texting me an awful lot while watching this.
Because I started texting you at the last 10-minute mark, and that's when I realized, oh, this movie doesn't have a lot of plot. I don't need to worry that much. But yeah, I remembered the movie, and I was like, oh, that was fun. But I think I remembered this being the hot topic thing for the early 2000s.
That was the only place you could get Nightmare stuff, and now you could just stroll into Target, and there's plenty of stuff.
Well, it's when Hot Topic turned into the Disney store, but with cooler merch. That's when that was
saying,
that transition.
I remember those difficult days where it was hard to find stuff for Nightmare.
I remember them too. My sister had a Jack Skellington straw, crazy straw, like the one I have here. I have a crazy straw here, people, with lock, shock, and barrel on it.
You showed up prepared for the day.
I did. I'm not playing around.
She's playing for keeps today.
But that straw that my sister had was a family treasure, and because the merch was hard to find. We all enjoyed it.
I mean, that was my first perfume I used to wear. Ragdoll. Came from Hot Topic.
Was it a Sally inspired?
Yeah. She was on the bottle.
Wow.
It was a glass bottle. It was awesome.
Dean, see, you subconsciously are attracted to Nightmare Before Christmas because the scent, the primal draw for you towards Becky was Ragdoll.
Wow.
By Hot Topic.
That is very I'm getting psychoanalyzed on this podcast. This is interesting.
I mean, my fragrance game has, progressed with the years. I haven't worn that in a very long time.
It's so deep ingrained though. All the old
there's
t-shirts.
probably lead in it, so it's probably
in
still
her
in there.
pores.
Yeah, probably.
Oh God. But yeah, so A Nightmare Before Christmas.
The Nightmare, not a Nightmare.
The Nightmare Before Christmas. Yeah, so I guess the first thing to get out of the way for this is for everyone who thinks, oh, this is a Tim Burton movie, it's a Henry Selick movie. Tim Burton brought, what was it, a poem?
The original poem, yeah.
Yeah, it was a poem and a concept drawing, right?
Drawings. Because he had drawings for Jack, I think it was Zero, and the Mayor.
Okay, this is my favorite weird production thing about this movie is a poem does not make a script. So he brings this idea to Henry Selick, and I think he gives it to Michael McDowell, who writes a whole or is trying to write a script, but it's not getting anywhere because it's a fucking poem. It's not like a story. And he's also, at the same time, Danny Elfman is composing all this music for the movie. And then finally, Danny Elfman's wife or girlfriend at the time, Caroline Thompson, basically is like, all right, boys, just stop playing with your toys. Give me everything you have and I'll just write you a script. And she cranks it out in like a weekend. And then that's like how the movie kind of is made. But Tim Burton doesn't show up for like, I think he shows up for like 3 days of production just to say hi to everybody. But like, that's it. Like, this is like 99% of this is Henry Selick.
So he just like gets credit for this, obviously, because it's called Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas. And he had the initial concept.
He has the initial concept, and it's also the thing, like, you know, Tim Burton's coming off of like a three-peat of back-to-back successes of Pee-wee, Beetlejuice, Batman, and basically he got carte blanche to get anything he wanted made. And this was one of his like first blank check movies. It's like this, Edward Scissorhands, and Ed Wood were like his like blank checks. Like the studios were like, you made us so much fucking money, do whatever the fuck you want. And this was one of them. So like they acknowledged that this movie could not have been made without Tim Burton basically shielding them from the studio. Because the studio also thought this movie was going to be a fucking dumpster fire.
Yeah, because
Right.
Disney was very, this isn't us. So they're like,
too scary for kids.
too scary, so let's give it to our sister company, Touchstone, which I miss a good Touchstone movie.
A Touchstone logo.
Mm.
Okay, where did you watch this? Did you watch this on like DVD or streaming or whatever? I'm just curious.
You mean this time for the podcast?
Yeah.
No, I streamed it.
Okay, did it have the big Disney like logo at the beginning of the castle?
It was on Disney Plus, so.
Yep.
Yeah, so that is a thing that all the tape collectors and physical media collectors look for, is the original release or the original cut of the movie. Because that's not in the theatrical cut.
No.
That's in all the streaming stuff, because Disney's is like now claimed it as like, no, we always loved Nightmare. We didn't try and bury this thing in like
We know
limited
Michael
release,
Eisner. We know it's too
you
scary.
know?
The kids aren't going to understand.
Yes, but that's like a real thing that this movie had to go uphill against. Was the studio had very little faith in it, but basically let it exist because they thought Tim Burton's name would sell it.
And then they saw, the dollar signs. And
This movie made like plenty of fucking money. I always thought this movie bombed, honestly.
No, it made like almost 5 times as much as the production cost, right?
Yeah.
We should probably also mention it's celebrating its 30th anniversary this year. That's why we're doing it for the podcast.
It is.
This and Hocus Pocus.
Disney's been milking this
Hocus
movie for
Pocus.
30 years. But yeah, this movie, like, it cost $24 million to make. It made $92 million. So,
yeah. More than 4 times. Yeah.
Yep. It also was nominated for an Oscar, but it lost it. It lost its special effects Oscar.
To whom?
Special effects. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was also this little, like, indie film that it lost to. You might have heard of it, Jurassic Park.
Oh.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of that one.
Yeah,
I'm surprised that the film score wasn't nominated because, like, to me, the film score, like, really carries this movie.
Oh, yeah.
The score, the music is the movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's a thing about the production of this that this turned into Danny Elfman's baby after a while, because his music was basically the foundation the rest of the story like worked off of, like all the animation, everything. And famously, Danny Elfman's is the singing voice for Jack Skellington.
Right.
And it wasn't until like late in production that they got Chris Sarandon to redub all the speaking lines, because they were like, Danny, we love the singing. You cannot pull off the speaking lines.
That's so funny.
Well, that happened, and that's why Danny Elfman fucking hated Tim Burton for like 5 years after this, because he was the one who was like, Danny, like, the speaking lines you got just don't, they're not really hitting there. There's no dramatic thing. I can't do it. And Danny Elfman called Tim Burton a slew of names, and then they stopped talking to each other for like 3 years.
It
He
happens.
hardly Jack hardly speaks unless he's singing.
Yeah, like, I think...
But yeah, I can think of some lines.
I think Chris Sarandon came in for like a week of redubbing or like dubbing the lines, and that was probably it.
Mm-hmm.
But when you do hear him talk, whether it's this movie, other movies, that's Jack.
Oh, yeah.
That's his voice.
That's his voice.
That's his voice.
She doesn't identify an actor. She identifies a character.
So I didn't know that Danny Elfman... I knew that he sang the parts, but I didn't know that he wasn't the speaking voice for Jack. So then when I read that it was Chris Sarandon, I was like, oh. And then I didn't, like, I knew him from Princess Bride, like his face.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't even know that, like, Susan Sarandon had a brother and that's her brother. And, like, I didn't know any of this.
Wait, are they?
They're brother and sister.
Are they brother and sister?
Are
Or
they?
no, I
Yeah.
think Chris Sarandon and Susan Sarandon like were married, but she just kept like his last name when they got divorced.
We gotta.
I
we
thought
gotta
that
do some.
Because I think she got famous when they were married, so she just kept the last name because she didn't want to like change it back.
It was his wife.
It was his wife.
Oh, God.
They were married in
okay.
'67.
You guys.
Wait, in what?
67, yeah.
What the?
How old
fuck?
are they?
So wait, 60. So
Wow.
when he does Princess Bride, he's like what, 40 something?
It says he was born in 42. Wow.
He's old.
He's
but
okay.
He doesn't look old.
No,
He
No,
aged
I
like a
low-key-
fine wine. He born
You
in
know
what,
what?
42? Jesus Christ.
I did not know that.
So what? When he does,
Oh, they were married. Well, I read that they were brother and sister. And then I was like, they don't look anything alike.
that explains it.
You guys, that's why I'm on here with you, because you guys are the film buffs here.
We're teaching you today. But yeah, like that was like a huge deal about the production of this movie. Was Danny Elfman, this was his like baby, and then they were like, oh, you're taking away like what I want to do in the movie. And it's like, Danny, you're singing 95% of the words in this movie. Let
true.
somebody else do the speaking lines. He's like, no, you're destroying my art. Because Danny Elfman's kind of dramatic if you haven't known.
Oingo boingo.
Oingo boingo, yeah. Who would have
Love me
thought?
some Oingo Boingo.
But yeah, like, and I think that's why, again, minor baby critique of this movie. I think the structure of the movie is kind of weird. And I think that stems from the fact the script and it was led by the music more than like a story. Because like Oogie Boogie shows up like in earnest in the last 10 minutes of the movie, 15 minutes of the movie. Jack just kind of flips to being like, oh, I want it to be everything Christmas. Well, I guess that didn't fucking work out. I guess I'll go back to doing spooky stuff. Like there's weird structural things about the movie that
It's
don't.
a
Are you
character
talking about
arc.
the pacing of it, or
Well, yeah, like the pacing and when things show up. Because like again, Oogie Boogie, who is like supposed to be like the villain of the piece. I think honestly the villain is like Jack's ego. But like Oogie Boogie, who like kidnaps.
We're really
you know,
getting deep here.
yeah?
we're gonna get into.
Dang.
I have thoughts about this movie. But like Oogie Boogie, who's like he's the one who's gonna fight Jack at the end to save Santa or whatever. He's introduced in like the literal last act of the movie. Like we don't see him until like the end of the movie.
But
in
I
earnest.
think that works really well actually, because they allude to him and you hear his voice.
Yeah, he's been banished.
Has
yeah.
he been banished?
That's why we don't see him. We see him in the very beginning during This Is Halloween. He's the shadow in the moon at night.
Mm.
We have the great, Oogie Boogie song. And
Yeah,
then
Lock, Shock, and Barrel are like talking about him, and you hear his voice.
Mhm.
And I think I think it's more exciting that way, because you're wondering, oh, what does this character look like?
Maybe it is a thing where it's like you're saving him for the very end, but I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, where's the establishing of like, oh, he's the one pulling the strings behind this and he wants to take over Halloween Town? Like, is his objective to take over Halloween Town or ruin Christmas or?
No, I think that he maybe based off like the Boogeyman, right?
Yeah, he's the
So,
boogeyman.
He's the Oogie Boogie
What is
Man. It's in the song.
what does the boogeyman look like, right? This scary creature that lives under children's beds that, scares them. So I think that's intentional that they withhold showing him until the very end. And I don't think he has like any real like complex motives other than just to be bad.
Yeah. Because originally someone, I don't know who it was, they proposed having Dr. Finkelstein be the real bad guy. That he's the one that's hiding behind the persona of Oogie Boogie.
Oh, he's the Mad Doctor?
Mm-hmm.
It's the Wizard of Oz.
Yes.
Like
And Tim Burton, I guess, kicked a hole through the wall. He's like, absolutely not. I'm like, I don't think
he's
I
like,
kick a
this
hole
is
through
my
the wall, but...
baby, god damn it.
I think that's a little bit too much personally. I'm glad they didn't go with that.
I mean, that's a different movie if they go
Yeah.
that direction.
Yeah.
But like the other thing that I think is just like really weirdly delivered is Jack's flip at the end. Because the entire movie, he's like, I'm going to make the best Christmas ever, all spooky and Jack Skellington-ly. And then it just like when he gets like shot down, he's like, well, maybe what I had before. I actually had everything I ever wanted. And this was just a wild fever dream. I'll just go back to things.
So why is that okay in It's a Wonderful Life, but it's not okay in this movie?
What do you mean it's in A Wonderful Life?
he's having that whole crisis, and he's, comes back. This is great. I can't do my Jimmy Stewart.
Oh, don't worry, darling. Yes, this is great. Clarence, we did
Clarence.
it. Well, in It's a Wonderful Life, there's an entire long, like, you get this guy's whole life story of, like, him basically trying to be the best guy possible and just getting shit on at every turn. And then at the end, when he's like, the only way I can, like, secure my family is by killing myself. Again, It's a Wonderful Life is a dark fucking movie, and it is brilliant. And then, like, when they see, like, oh, all these things, of you trying to do your best and, like, life shitting on you, it's like, you did your best and you helped everyone around you. Like, there's, like, the payoff there is, like, that's set up through the whole movie. I think in A Nightmare Before Christmas, there's just not that many signposts to signal that flip.
We have an entire lament explaining why he's just feeling so melancholy.
That's the beginning, right? It's like...
Yes.
Okay, that is, like, my favorite song in the movie.
Yeah, there's that. And then you have, like, Sally throughout the film who's trying to tell him that she has misgivings about the whole, Christmas production. Yeah. So, I mean, it is a little bit abrupt, but when he gets shot down, when he's getting shot down, he says to Zero, like, oh, they're trying to hit us, so whatever. I mean, maybe it's a bit, like, it's a bit fast, it's a bit abrupt, but also this is, like, kind of a kid's movie. Like, do we need a whole thing?
I do think it's interesting that when Caroline Thompson took over the scripting and she put Sally and, like, really developed Sally's character, the whole movie is like, well, if you listen to the woman in the room, none of this would have fucking happened, wouldn't it, guys?
Just saying.
It is funny. But I guess I can see what you mean. Like, the movie is, like, very fast, and it's like 76 minutes long. You probably can't put, like, the extra 10 minutes signpost in for this arc to develop that way. But it's the Nightmare Before Christmas.
That's right.
But yeah. But I am curious, like, how much of this do you think is, like, Tim Burton? How much is Henry Selick? All that fun stuff. Because I know you're sitting there literally holding your Nightmare Before Christmas book in hand.
That is from 1993, I think, yeah.
And this is, and like the Nightmare Before Christmas is like your Rosetta Stone for your life.
And this is how old it is that I didn't even know I had this in here.
That is so ancient. Is that a literal map of Disneyland from 93?
Not from 93. It's from 2007.
That is still so old. That thing can almost
That is a
drink.
relic.
But the book is from 93.
Jeez.
I have to say that, I've known Becky my whole life, and
just for a little bit, a while.
Yeah. I don't know obviously you're gonna remember, Becky, but, like, there was a period where your whole bedroom was Nightmare Before Christmas. Like, the bed sheets, everything.
Comforter, I had the lights.
Like, the whole room was Nightmare Before Christmas themed.
It's true. I'm still that person on the inside.
She's just internalized it.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's something that's, like, even goes beyond the actual quality of the movie, is the pop culture impact this movie had.
You know what's the weirdest thing? And it's something that I've just noticed on Facebook recently. A lot of friends that I've, still friends with from, like, middle school, high school, they're, suddenly into this movie, and they're like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, I was the only one in middle school and high school wearing, like, nightmare stuff and feeling like an outcast. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, yeah, we love it. We love Jack. And it's like,
gatekeeping.
I was just like, wow.
No. It's just, if you read it culturally, like, yeah, back in the day, back in, like, 2004, it was the thing for, like, weirdo, like, emo, edgy kids.
Yeah.
And it's just become super mainstream.
If you were a scene kid, you had your Jack Skellington shirt and your fringe bangs.
Totally.
That was, like, a thing,
You had your, like, nightmare pins on your backpack.
I still have mine.
I mean, I think that goes back to basically Disney embracing this movie, because, like, I was just at Disneyland yesterday, and they have the whole, like, they have some Halloween decorations up, but, like, all of New Orleans Square is, like,
Nightmare.
Really, the Haunted Mansion is entirely Nightmare Before Christmas. They had, like, a Halloween Screams fireworks spectacular that was basically mostly Nightmare Before Christmas. So I think their embracing of it and making this film really mainstream has, like, contributed to that, right? That everybody just loves Nightmare Before Christmas, right?
What did your boys think of it?
Oh, I still like this movie.
Of the Haunted Mansion and Nightmare, or were they not ready for that?
Ale does like it. My almost 5-year-old, he is like intrigued by it, a little scared, but like mostly like he likes it.
I mean, he got scared when I sent you the picture of me and Jack. He was just like, no,
Yeah,
not happening.
Yeah, it's
no.
a little too much for him. We actually saw Jack and Sally yesterday.
Oh, yeah?
As we were walking through Disneyland, I heard a man behind me go like, "Excuse me," and then I turned and it was Jack and Sally on his arm.
Ooh.
So there we go.
You were so excited.
Did you fangirl?
I did fangirl, and my son was like, "What is wrong with you?" Those are adults in costumes. But yeah, it runs deep.
It does.
We were like born and bred on this.
Exactly.
I mean, like, I wasn't, but I do remember this was like, again, like the impact of this movie almost like overshadows the actual movie, because I remembered this was like you said, for all the girls or the kids who were like, you know, oh, I'm a weird edgy goth kid, I'm wearing like my Disney sweater that has Jack on it because that represents how edgy I am. And it's like,
we
okay,
need an outlet.
You need an outlet, right? You know. But yeah, it's, I don't know, the movie is just, I really do like the movie. I like all the songs in it kind of slap. There's only one of it that are like, that I'm like kind of iffy on. I think that's like
Making Christmas.
Making Christmas. Is that the worst song in this movie?
There's a lot going on.
It's like the only one where I'm like, this is just kind of a drone more than a chant more than a song.
But do I still know all the words to it? Absolutely.
That's the thing too about the music in this movie. We were saying that the music carries the film and like basically is the plot almost, like,
yeah,
and also does most, like, pretty much all of the character development.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But people who watch this film, I think there's a general aesthetic that they're attracted to, but everybody remembers every single word, every single line of every song because it's just so catchy.
Is this Danny Elfman's masterpiece in terms of his songwriting? Because he's done this, he's done Spider-Man, he's done Batman. Like, is this like his top end of like his best work as a songwriter?
I think in terms of like libretto, yes.
Libretto.
Mm-hmm.
That is some $5 words for some poor people podcast. God damn.
Coming at you.
And Dean got rocked.
Oh Lord, I like sang in the choir for like a decade, and I think I vaguely remember that word.
She drops a libretto,
I mean,
and you look like you got
okay,
KO'd.
I'm just giving Danny Elfman a lot of praise here because I would put it on par with like an opera.
Yes.
Like in terms of the quality of the lyrics.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
He doesn't just write lyrics, he writes like the entire,
the score.
The whole composition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so as a like composer, songwriter, would you say this is like his best work? From the stuff you've heard, I don't know if you've gone through his whole discography.
No, it's up there. It's up there for sure. I think it has most, like, the greatest pop culture appeal. For sure.
Agreed.
Oh, yes.
I mean, it's going to be a tie between the animated series, Batman 89, but yeah.
Did he do the music for the Batman animated series?
Yeah, it's the same theme, but yeah, he does the scoring for it too.
Interesting. I didn't know that. I'm learning new shit about Danny
Corpse
Elfman.
Bride, Sleepy Hollow.
Okay.
All movies that just hit me in the heart.
That's okay. Corpse Bride's another interesting thing, because I don't think Corpse Bride exists without Nightmare, and not just like a whole like, oh, you know, Tim Burton going back to the thing. It's like stop motion.
Yeah.
Like, this movie basically legitimizes stop motion as like a real mainstream like filmmaking technique. Because there's movies before it was stop motion, but this one made it like popular.
I went to go see Corpse Bride in the theater when it came out.
Me too.
And people left the theater because they thought that was going to be the sequel to Nightmare Before Christmas. And they're like, there's no Jack, there's no Sally, and they left. And I'm just like,
wait, really?
Yeah, and I'm like, it's not supposed to be a sequel. It's its own entity.
No, for sure.
Did they not watch the trailer?
The trailer.
Probably not.
Or look at the poster?
I think people were just like, this is Tim Burton's newest thing, right?
Oh.
Victor is supposed to be Jack.
Before he dies or whatever.
Did Jack die? No, because it's like there's this weird thing where it's like...
Are we doing the Beetlejuice thing? You know, was he ever alive?
Well, I mean, they're in like Halloween Town, and it's like... there's cemeteries, but everyone's like these weird ghoulish goblin things. Is anyone dead?
I thought it was supposed to be like, these are just monsters that...
But Oogie Boogie says, oh, you must be double dead. So...
To
Jack. when, you know, they're saying that he's been blown to smithereens, and he's like, oh, you're back. You must be double dead. So it's like, oh, so you already died, and...
Maybe it's just like the low-hanging fruit for a joke.
I mean, it's like the people that that meme that Frankenweenie is the beginning, and then, you know, Corpse Bride is the middle, and then Nightmare is the ending for this one character and Zero along with him. And it's just like, well, no, I'm like, those are three different people. It's Victor, Scraps, and, you know, I forget Frankenweenie. It's been a long time since I've watched that.
She goes
wishful thinking.
She
on
goes
the part
hard in the paint on Tim Burton lore.
Mm-hmm.
I have to.
It's like her thing. So, but yeah, like the whole thing about like a nightmare or the Nightmare Before Christmas.
Thank you.
Started staring daggers at me when it started with the A.
If I have to sit here and just hold this book up for the whole time, I will.
But yeah, the Nightmare Before Christmas. I really I'm kind of curious about like your thoughts on the movie. You know,
curiosity killed the cat. You know.
Yes, you're quoting the movie. I see. But
Maybe.
like, you know, I look at this movie and I'm like, I think it's like fun. I think it's good, but I think like its technical achievement like is just far and away like the most important thing this movie did, because like the stop motion stuff, because I think like the beginning of it, like the whole This Is Halloween, that sequence, it took like 4 months for them to make that for that 5-minute sequence, and this was like the first time you were able to check your work as you were filming for stop motion. Like, Yasmin, could you imagine we're doing a stop motion thing for, you know, the beginning of this movie, and it's like, all right, we finally finished 4 months of work. Now let's watch it all. We fucked up. We have to restart the whole thing.
Yeah. It's like kind of going back to early days of animation, right? Like
all the hand-drawn and hours of labor.
And experimenting and using different lenses and techniques, right?
And then claymation.
There's like 2 or 3 shots in this movie that are like live action, like some, like I think it's the close up with Sally's spoon in the soup, or like, okay, that's like a real like thing, like they didn't have to like stop motion that, and I'm like, that was probably the best day at the office.
What do you mean? Like it's what do you mean by that shot?
That shot, okay, so if you look at that shot, it's like a close up where it's like the spoon and it's going into the water and it's coming out.
Right.
That's not stop motion. That's just somebody filming with the camera and the prop, because you don't see Sally's hand or whatever. It just goes in, pulls it up.
Oh, right.
And that's it, because that's like a normally
It's a simple shot, yeah.
A simple shot, normal shot that was like done like at speed or whatever. That was the best day at the office. Because every time, like, you got to think about it.
Is there nothing else like that in the whole movie?
I think there's like two shots, and they're all like inserts of very specific things that are like, oh, this does this or whatever. But think about it. Every time you see Jack's hand, that's probably 3 days of work to get Jack to go and pick up a cup and pull it out of frame.
And like make his fingers move the right way, yeah. What about, how did they do Zero?
Oh, God.
Because he's not clay.
It's like a translucent superimposition onto the frame, I think?
I think so. I mean, I know there's models for all the monsters and creatures, so you know, I'm sure Zero, he's got his own like physical molds, but it might just be like a headpiece. So you have something that's stable, and then you have, you know, the body that you could draw in to make him float.
I always thought he was they filmed like the Zero model against like a black background and then put it in digitally onto the film frame to make him look like translucent like that, because I think that's what they did with the smoke in later on in the movie with like the fog. It is weird to me, or maybe not weird, it's wild to me how much the camera's like moving and how much like work is going into making this look like a live action thing. And because like up to this point, like stop motion, it's locked down, like the camera's not moving but the models are moving. Right. But the camera's sweeping around doing all these weird things, and I'm like, there's so much work going into all these little aspects of this movie, and it is insane to me.
I never noticed that the camera was moving a lot.
Oh, I mean, like This Is Halloween, where it swoops in and it's in like everyone's like coming in.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, like and that's then, a one long shot, I think.
What's this? It moves really fast paced.
That's true.
Santa's Village.
I mean, think about the climactic battle with like Oogie Boogie and all that. There's 3 shots of Oogie Boogie without like the canvas on him where you see all the bugs. I think that was like 8 months to do those 4 shots, because all the bugs have to move.
Oh my God, you're right.
Every bug has to move in its own unique and distinctive way, and that's why I'm like, the technical achievement for this movie is at a level that I think is very hard to match. Like, just all the little details, like the fact this was done on film, this isn't digital in any like
they'd
film
never
way.
do this again, honestly.
Or even with Jack, they had to mold all his heads, but they had to mold them in certain ways that he was able to say the entire alphabet and then sync it to Danny Elfman and match the head to the vowel or the letter that he's singing.
Danny Elfman's like singing like 5 words per second.
And they're just running it through a computer monitor and okay, that looks like the right face to go with that. So that's head A, B, C, D, and just swapping them out.
Not to keep talking about my trip to Disneyland, but
I mean, just gloat over there.
My life is amazing. No, I went on It's a Small World, which is like all these little puppets, singing. And there's so much that went into just like the design for that ride. And it's so exciting, like just to look at, right? It's like visually very satisfying. But then you have, they have a new ride there. I don't know how new it is. I haven't been to Disneyland in a while.
Is it
Mickey and Minnie's
Runaway Railroad?
Yeah. And the entire film is like mostly the entire ride is mostly projection.
Experience.
Yeah, it is. There are film aspects to it. Ooh. But like, I mean, that's kind of the premise of the ride. But you're like, oh, this is like really neat, like in terms of, animation. But it's not the same as like, obviously the painstaking process of like, for instance, painting all of the little details in It's a Small World or doing claymation. I remember like learning as a kid about like how The Nightmare Before Christmas was made, and my mind was like blown. I think that's how it was for most children watching this, and I think that's a major appeal too. Like you're saying, it's just like, how did they do this? And they spent so much time, making this a reality.
I mean, I think that's something that goes to the movie. Like, the appeal for kids is, like, on a conceptual level, I think kids realize, like, this isn't, like, real. Like, they understand, okay, well, there's not real actors on screen. Like, those aren't real people. But those are, like, my toys. Like, there's a tactile feeling to all the stuff in this movie. And it's, like, I think kids get a vibe for that as, like, oh, it's, like, toys coming to life,
Toy
It's
Story.
almost like a toy. Yeah, it's like a Toy Story.
Yeah, it's so clearly 3-dimensional.
And like,
it's very,
and like the entire world just feels really like deep and developed. Like all the background characters look like they have their own little like thing about them.
I will say I watched this on 4K like recently.
Oh, did you see fingerprints?
I just was like, oh god, I never want to watch this on 4K ever again because it just showed too much.
Yeah.
And yeah, it definitely took away from the magic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was just like, I hate this. I don't know.
Well, I guess that would be a weird, was it like you saw the wires or you saw, like, did you see a little, like, too much detail into everything?
The thing I noticed the most was that I could see into the background. And so I felt like the world didn't look as like full or, you know what I mean? Like you're just getting lost in this world and it's darkness beyond that point, right? So you're just imagining what's back there. But when you can see that it's like a backdrop or whatever.
Yeah.
You can see the matte painting.
Yeah. And you can see like the wires on the bats at the beginning of the movie, like flying past the moon. It's just, it ruins the illusion. It ruins like the magic of it.
I'm glad I watched my VHS rip of this movie. Ooh.
There you go.
Ooh,
yeah,
man.
That's prime viewing.
This is a movie that should only be viewed as like a VHS like dupe. Should
or
only be viewed like
early
that.
DVD. You'll still get the touchstone.
There you go.
That's the real shit right there.
That is.
Because it is like weird because this movie has been re-released a bunch of times. I think there's a 3D version of this movie now.
There is.
Yasmin looks disgusted at the idea of watching this in 3D.
It was like early 2000s.
Oh yeah, when 3D was getting really big,
and that's when Disney was like, "Oh yeah, we fully back The Nightmare Before Christmas. We love it." And they're just like, "No, you guys don't. You just want to turn it into an overlay at the park and feel like you've been part of the party."
I mean, they legit thought this movie was gonna bomb.
Yeah,
like they were ready to like shelf this. It got a limited release, and then they were like, "All right, it made a little bit of money," and like, because when it got released, it made a decent amount of money. But what really made this movie survive was its home video.
Yeah.
Like, this movie was a huge hit on home video. This was one of those, like VHS classics for, like, a decade.
Well, again, there's, like, nothing really like this. And I think that appealed especially to children, right? They wanted to, like, watch it over and over and over and over again. I certainly did. I don't know what's wrong with you, Dean.
I came to it late. I came to it at the elderly age of 9. Again, like my parents had, like, the filter off for anything I could watch. Like, I could watch anything at any age. Like, there was no horror movie too gruesome, no action movie too violent. Like, they just didn't care.
Really? You couldn't watch Scarface until after we started dating?
Oh, that's actually true. Scarface and Clerks are the only 2 movies my parents... Yes, Kevin Smith's Clerk was the only movie my mom was like, Dean, you're not going to watch Clerks. Because the opening joke of Clerks is, you suck 27 dicks?
Ew.
Yeah. And she was like, that is too vulgar for you, son. You're not going to watch that dirty film. And Scarface was like because my dad saw Scarface, and I was like, I want to watch Scarface. And my dad was like, fuck no. That movie's just tits and coke. It's basically the 80s. And so I wasn't allowed to, so I wasn't allowed to watch Scarface, but I could watch, like, Predator, Alien, whatever. So, like, I skipped over a lot of those, like, oh, well, these were, like, kids movies for, like, kids. I skipped over a lot of that shit when I was younger. Like,
so you had no childhood?
Oh, I had a great childhood. I watched Die Hard when I was, like, 5.
So you had no childhood?
Oh, I had a childhood, and it was wonderful. But yeah, that's why, like, A Nightmare Before Christmas. Been
working in the mines since he was, like, chain smoking since 4. Like,
oh yeah, that's some real shit right there. That's where I get this sweet gravelly voice. But that's, like, why this movie wasn't, like, a thing for me as a kid, because I watched other stuff.
Just saying, when this movie came back into my life, because I saw it with you for the first time, didn't remember the name of it, and then found it at the Disney store, back when the Disney store used to be good. And it was some anniversary, and I got the tape, brought it home, showed it to my grandmother, my grandpa, and my cousins. And my grandparents that don't really speak English, they clicked with the movie. They loved it, which was completely shocking to me. Where my grandma, who could barely speak English, was like, can you make me a copy of this on cassette so I can listen to this in my car?
Do you think that it appeals to, like, a Latin sensibility with, like, Dia de los Muertos and stuff like that?
No, I mean, there's nothing like that in the movie, but it's just...
Jack's got a look.
But I think
he's got like... It was just...
There's a romance about, like, the afterlife, like, in Latin culture.
There is, but it was just kind of this random thing where it's like, I've known you my whole life, and I've never seen you kind of take to something, but they took to this film for whatever reason.
She was so proud her grandparents were secret goths.
That's
so
right.
Proud.
Runs in the family.
The My Chemical Romance ensued.
Oh, Lord. That was an aesthetic I was glad, like, faded away in the early 2000s.
Do you remember when they did a re-release of the soundtrack? And they had, like, Fall Out Boy, Marilyn Manson.
Oh, they all did covers of it?
Fiona Apple. They all did covers.
I have only heard, I think, the Marilyn Manson cover of This Is Halloween.
It's pretty good.
I don't like the man, but...
Oh, same. Wow. I don't like him either, but, I mean, he does a decent cover.
I haven't heard the other, like, songs, I don't think.
I have the CD
I'm
at
the
home
foggiest
somewhere.
idea. It's just like really weird, like how this movie has. This goes into I think when you were on for Beetlejuice, when we were talking about, like, Tim Burton movies feel like they should be cult movies, even though they're all, like, wildly popular. Mm-hmm. This also feels like a movie that's a cult movie, but it's just wildly popular
because the majority of the population is suppressing goth, like, inclinations.
Exactly. Everyone's
just let it in.
Everyone's like being like, I'm not a goth nor an emo. Your favorite band's My Chemical Romance. Shut up, you. It's like that stuff.
It's like that girl that you said you saw at church and she was wearing her My Chem shirt.
Oh my gosh.
And you're like, it reminded me of you.
Were you just like, you're not allowed in here. Get out.
No. I was just like, it was so funny. Are we going to do a little story time? Like, for, like, 1 minute?
Yeah, go for it. I mean, we got time. I was about to go on a whole tangent about how I watched Predator before I saw Bambi.
Just like, my husband ran into a guy who has a soccer team, and sometimes my husband plays for his soccer team. And he was inviting us to his daughter's quinceañera. Mm-hmm. And I see her and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's so like on the cusp of 15. She has braces, like so sweet, so polite, but like she's like rocking a My Chemical Romance t-shirt at church. And I'm like, I know exactly where you are
in your
life right now. Yeah, like I know at the exact point of like this trajectory, like where you are. And like I'm sure The Nightmare Before Christmas like plays a big part in her identity. Yeah.
Same.
This is okay. This might be a thing.
We've been there.
This might be a thing. I'm reading too much into it. Is it a thing where like women, teenage girls, did they just dig the Tim Burton aesthetic more than guys do?
There are plenty of guys who like this.
Oh yeah.
I know there are, but I'm like,
Dean, not everyone is you.
I know, not everybody is, rugged man Dean. But I mean, like...
You mean a 90-year-old in a 29-year-old's body?
Leave me alone. But, like, I think it is, like, a thing where it's like, yeah, guys, girls love it or whatever, but, like, I've noticed, like women adore the Nightmare aesthetic. And there's, like, a few guys that rock the Jack Skellington shirt. Because growing up, I always thought, like, oh, well, Nightmare, that's, like, a thing for like girls.
Can I tell you something that's probably gonna make you,
emotional? Sure.
She's gonna start.
I'm usually emotional these days.
So you say,
dare I say emo?
You say in the most deadpan way ever. It's like, I'm so emotional these days.
So before we started dating, and I was like lovesick over him, I used to listen to Sally's song a lot.
Oh my god!
I am. I'm cringing.
How does that make you feel?
Hard. My chest is exploding with the cringe.
She's like, I've finally found my Jack.
And
how does that make you feel, Dean?
I mean, like, I'm trying to see the parallels between me and Jack. I mean, Oblivious. That's definitely me and Jack to a T. Like, me and him were vibing on that shit. But yeah,
ignoring Becky,
ignoring everything.
I think this is a bad idea. I understand you. I'd be like, no, nobody understands me except my dog.
Yeah. Shut up, woman.
Jack, I think this is a bad idea. What? The trim on the suit? No, I think it'll work wonderfully. No, go take theirs. No, this Christmas thing. Oh, goddamn it, he's already gone. Like, yeah, but that is actually kind of adorable.
Just get married already, y'all.
He's just like. She's got a crush on me.
She got a crush on me.
A Nightmare Before Christmas themed wedding.
Oh, he would not let that happen.
I ain't gonna let that shit fly. You kidding me? Come on now.
There's so much potential. I'm seeing this now, like, play out before
She's creating a Pinterest board as we speak.
A Pinterest
a mood board.
a mood board. We're gonna storyboard the whole thing out. It'll be great.
You can sing your vows.
Oh no.
Oh, come on. You want to. Like, no. I don't sing in public anymore
oh my God,
unless I
guys,
drink, but I'll do it.
Obviously, you're going to say your vows on top of that, like, curling mountain.
Curly
yes,
yeah.
the curly hill.
There's,
there has to be a full moon.
There is an aesthetic
Oogie
to this
Boogie is the
movie.
presider. All of your guest dress as the other characters.
I mean, speaking of Oogie Boogie, we did meet him.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
So that is...
Ken Page, you met him? Like,
yes.
the real...
That is
real,
top 5 moments of Becky's life is when she
yeah.
got to meet Jack and Oogie.
Yes, I met Chris Sarandon and Ken Page at the same signing.
Oh my God.
And
did you, like, lay on some sweet, like, references to...
She almost cried.
No, I was trying not to melt.
Oh my God.
There's no, I'm not joking. She almost cried.
I did almost cry. Because, I mean, Chris Sarandon, like I was saying earlier, that is his voice. So hearing him and, talking to him, I was like, oh my God, and, I'm talking to Jack Skellington. This is weird. And then, Dean shows up with his Princess Bride stuff for his sister. And then Chris Sarandon's like, so you got a thing for the Princess Bride? He goes, no, my sister. So you have Jack, giving him a hard time. And I'm like, this is awesome.
It was literally her
what
greatest
Becky
moment.
Lives for.
Yes.
And then we move over to Ken Page. And Ken Page is Oogie Boogie through and through. I mean, the voice was just...
It is him.
It is him. It's booming. And... yeah, I gave him my name so he could, sign my autograph.
Oh, is that Becky? How do you spell that? B-E-C-K. What?
And that's when Dean had to catch me, because I was just like, oh my God.
He literally said it like that. Like the big, like,
name.
oh, what? Like,
yeah.
he said it just like that, and yeah, Becky almost fucking cried.
Almost. I don't break that easily, but that day...
She was shaking on the way to the car. She was shaking on the way to the car.
Be my pillar of strength.
But yeah, like, it is just fascinating how deep this movie runs for you. It is just...
Oh,
Fascinating.
It's a thing, Lydia's part of, what makes up my character. Nightmare is, a good majority of my character. It's a thing.
I don't know. I mean, you're asking why.
You're starting to be like, why did I show up to this?
No. You're asking why this like resonates for women so much. And I'm like, I don't want to make a connection that might offend people.
Oh, please. Please. I want your hot takes, all right?
Okay, you got like the basic girl who's like, once the autumnal winds start to blow in like September, you got to go to like Target. And like,
honey, that's July.
Okay, July. Like, you got to go to TJ Maxx, Home Goods, like Target,
Marshalls, Ross.
like start getting your fall stuff together. Start like
get your pumpkin
spice latte.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm her too.
I know. I see it.
Yeah, like I'm wearing an orange cardigan. I just had a pumpkin latte.
What you're telling us is your basic.
I'm kind of like I think there's a basic girl in all of us. I think there's an emo girl in all of us. I think that they can. Definitely not mutually exclusive. Like they can mingle.
Isn't your birthday the first day of autumn, or is it like it falls on it?
It is like almost the first day of autumn. Yeah, it's the day after.
Okay.
Becky's so jealous, by the way.
Yeah, I have referred to myself as like an autumnal like princess before. Like I like lean into this hard. This is my favorite season of the year.
Oh yeah.
But I think like what I'm trying to say is like. Emo girls, basic girls, whether they're the same, whatever. There's something about like Halloween in general and like the autumn that like attracts the female spirit. And I think that Nightmare Before Christmas just like falls beautifully into that.
It calls to me.
It calls to us, yes. There's something about it.
The ocean called to Moana. Autumn calls to us.
Yeah.
That is a very interesting take.
The fall. I think women love like cozy stuff too.
We do. We like blankets.
But like also a little bit of magic.
There's a very cozy vibe for Nightmare.
There is.
Yeah, it's a world. It's like a magical world that you can just live in for 70 some odd minutes.
76 minutes.
76 whole minutes.
I'm so surprised how short this movie is.
Oh yeah, it's a very fast-paced movie.
No, I mean like just in runtime. It's 76 minutes long. Like, I can watch 2 episodes of Seinfeld in this time.
But, like, if you think about it more as, like, a soundtrack with visuals than, like, quote, movie, that makes sense. Like, that's kind of a long album.
Yeah. I think if you even stack the music back to back, it'd probably come out to about, like, 50 minutes, hour.
Even on the physical soundtrack, you get an epilogue to the story, which is... It answers questions for you.
Oh, does it now?
It does.
All of Dean's questions.
What were the questions you were asking?
Well, you do know that it was narrated by Patrick Stewart, right?
It was narrated by Patrick Stewart?
Yes, it was.
Really?
Yes, it was.
Good for him. All right, go adventure.
And originally,
come back from Pagemaster. Let's go.
Originally, Santa was supposed to be played by Vincent Price.
Oh.
I knew that, but Vincent Price, like, just wasn't able to do it.
This was after his wife had just died. His health was declining, and he did come in and he did record, but I guess he was just on such the decline that they weren't able to salvage anything.
Because he was in like Edward Scissorhands, like, was it like the year before this or the year after?
Yeah, he died, I think, like a week or 2 weeks after Nightmare released, like the small release, and then when it was out for the general population, he had already passed. So it was but yeah, Patrick Stewart was on for the epilogue on the soundtracks, and he does the opening credits too.
Oh, good for Picard, showing that bald men can really achieve anything.
See, I out nerded you. How sad.
That was. I mean, you've done that before. We went to like a movie thing, and as we're like walking out, she's like, "Wait, is that Mr. Data?" And it's fucking Data from Next Generation. And he's like, "Yes, yeah." And then he just walks away immediately.
I've never watched anything Star Trek, but it's like, I recognize it from, pictures and whatever. And I'm like, is that Brett Spiner? And then, but I mean, that didn't come out. I was just like, Mr. Data. And I was just like, I waved at him, and he was kind of like,
goodbye.
And then Dean and our friend Reggie was just like, was that him? And the two of them are consulting, and I'm like, you're supposed to be the Trekkie. You would think you would know, this is your show.
Well, I saw him when we were coming out, but I'm like, that's not Data. There's no way he'd be here. And I was like, and you were like, no, that's Mr. Data. I'm like, are you sure? And I looked at him again. I was like, fuck, that is Mr. Data. I should have gotten him to sign something.
Like, Kevin is also terrible at recognizing people who he cares about. We saw Terry Crews, and I was like, that is Terry Crews. And he's like, no, it's not. And then also, like, Nipsey Hussle's mom.
Why do you know what Nipsey Hussle's mom looks like?
Well, I had only seen her because he had died recently, and then they had this whole memorial service, and she spoke, and I, like, recognized her just from that little bit time that she spoke. So, anyways, I think women are just good at recognizing people, even if those people are more significant to the men.
I mean, I'm terrible with names, but a face I won't forget.
Yeah, same.
So, Nightmare. It's a woman's movie. It is the ultimate basic emo girl chick flick.
It's where basic girls and emo girls can, meet
and understand
if they're not already the same person.
So yeah, so I like Nightmare Before Christmas. How about you guys?
Dean just told us he is a basic emo girl.
I do. She's sitting right over there.
No, you are one.
Yeah, not that you like one, that you are one.
Nah. I don't like pumpkin spice.
I mean, I did get you to say that you were a basic white girl.
Was I drunk when I said that?
No, you were sober. You were sober. We had an audience for that. People were just like, "Wow, did you really say that?" He did.
I do a lot. For the, I do a lot for the meme.
Dean and Uggs.
Oh God, no! God, no!
I know what I'm getting you for Christmas.
Uggs. I wouldn't fit in a pair of Uggs.
How do you know?
We'd find a way.
Are you checking? Like,
trying to look at your feet.
Stop that. But yeah, any final thoughts on Nightmare Before Christmas?
Great film. 2 thumbs up. You should watch it. Don't listen to Dean. This movie's for anybody. Not just for chicks. Not just for children.
It's family fun for all ages. Young and old.
Old and young.
Any gender, any
basic
race,
or not. I did enjoy it. I had my minor criticism, but I thought the movie was a lot of fun. Like, I love all the music in it. I think it's like the vibe is great, the aesthetic's cool. Yeah, I like the movie. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so what are we doing next week?
Next week, new month, new theme. So we're kicking off November, which means we're going to be watching brand new films. But this year we're going to do it with a twist, and even we don't know what's coming next week. So it's a surprise to all of us.
That's right, because for this entire month, we have given the schedule away to our guests. They are going to be coming in and bringing us movies we've never seen before, and hopefully they bring us good ones, because I looked at some of the movies that were on the list, and I am flabbergasted at some of these, but I can't wait. But if you wanted to check those out, where can they go?
If you want to listen to us on a different platform than you currently are, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and YouTube.
Go to our YouTube channel, The Film Vault. That is The Film Vault on YouTube. You can go there, like, comment, subscribe to our videos, and, well, they're not videos, they're slideshows, but they're mine, so go check them out. But if you want to follow us on social media, you can go to
The Film Club Podcast on Instagram, where we post daily stories, upcoming episodes, and random adventures we go on.
And Yasmin, would you like to shout anybody out, call anybody, say, anything like that?
No.
Never,
ever.
Never, ever.
I'm not selling anything here, Dean. I'm just I'm here for the art. I'm here for the film. I'm here for
cinema.
Chinema.
But if all right. Well, everyone, I hope you show up next week to listen to us talk about cinema.
But other than that, happy Halloween.
See you next week at the Film Club.
Happy Halloween. Oh, shit.
Bye, everybody.